This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so for today's session, I request uh, every one of you to make a note of the questions. Like whatever the questions you have during the session, please do make a note of them, and we can have a separate Q&A session. Okay, at the end of the demo session. I mean, at the end of the demo. So I request every one of you to be on mute as well. Okay, if you have any questions, just post it in the chat window, or just you can make a note of it and you can ask me at the end. Okay, uh, this this process is only for today. Okay, and in our regular classes you can stop me whenever you want. Whenever you have any question, you can stop me there itself, but only for today's demo session I request you to make a note of all the questions and ask them at the end. Okay, so I'll quickly write the agenda. Okay. I do have slides for each and everything, but I would like to write the agenda directly here. So the first point as part of our agenda, okay. So the first thing that we'll discuss is what is performance testing. Okay. Second point is because we are specifically learning LoadRunner. Okay. Yes, there are other tools as well in the market, but because we are specifically learning LoadRunner, so we are going to discuss about LoadRunner architecture. Okay. The third point we are going to discuss is we are going to record a simple flow, record and replay a simple flow. Okay. Using Vusion. I'll tell you what is that. Then we can discuss about the LoadRunner course content. Okay. Then you can ask me any questions if you have. Okay, so this will be our agenda for today. So first I'll begin with what is performance testing. So for that, I'll just make use of one slide. Okay, so before I explain about performance testing, I would like to let you know that in the software testing space, we have a couple of things like functional testing and non-functional testing. So functional testing is all about testing the functionality of the application. Okay. For example, if I ask you to test the login for any of the application. So let's say this is the sample application. Okay. Let any sample application. If I ask you to test the login functionality for this application, what would you do? You enter username and then you enter password and then you click on login button. So what is that you are verifying here? You are verifying whether the user is able to log in successfully or not. That means you are testing the functionality of the application, the login functionality of the application. Okay. So, so here, soft functional testing is all about testing the functionality of the application. Now, within this, even you have something like integration testing, regression testing, and all those things. Specifically for automation, regression automation or functional automation, you use some tools called Selenium, UFT, etc. I mean, there are various tools in the market. However, the most widely used tools in the market are Selenium and UFT. Okay. Now, coming to non-functional testing, okay, within the software testing, you have functional testing and non-functional testing. Now we understood what is functional testing at a very high level. Now, when it comes to non-functional testing, it primarily focuses on the non-functional aspects like performance, security, etc. So, when I say performance, here, as part of non-functional testing, the primary focus will be on the performance aspect. For example, if I have to test the performance of login, so what I do, Normally I enter username and I launch the application, then I log into the application. Okay, that's fine. I'm able to log in. I'm able to log in successfully. But as a performance tester, I'm more interested in knowing or verifying how fast the user was able to log in. Now, when I enter username and password and click on login button, how much time it has taken for the user to log in successfully. So the timing is important. How much time it has taken, how fast the page has loaded. Okay, those things are important from performance testing perspective. Okay, so in the non-functional testing, where we are focusing primarily on performance, we have multiple tools in the market as well, like LoadRunner, JMeter, NeoLoad, Gatling, etc. But the most widely used tools in the market are LoadRunner and JMeter. Okay, these are the two most widely used tools in the market. Now, if you want to know how these tools are performing in the market, you can open any of the job portals and you can search with the keyword either LoadRunner or JMeter. Okay, you will come to know what's the market currently. Not currently, it's always constant and keep on rising. Okay, there is no second thought about it, because every application performance testing is very, very important. Okay, so uh, so performance testing is all about testing the checking the performance of an application. Okay, like I said, right, a couple of points we have to remember, which are very important, like how much time it is taking for the user to navigate from one page to another page. Let's say I have a button or a link on one page, I click on it, then how much time it is taking for me to navigate to next page, how much time it is taking to load the entire page. So those things are important for us. Okay, so I'll tell you one example, generic example, to make you understand the performance testing. So there is a lift. Okay, generally in all the high-rise buildings you see the lift. Now if you go into the lift and let's say uh, you are the only one and then you press number 3, what should happen? The lift should take you to third floor. Okay, that is the functionality, because you just press the 3 button, you should go to third floor. Okay, um, then let's say okay, so from performance point of view, when you press 3, it's not only about going to third floor, but how much time it is taking to go to third floor is also important. Okay, at the same time, one more very, very important point is how much of the load is maintained, okay, in the lift. So for example, the lift capacity is 10 members. Now when all the 10 members are inside the lift, and then when you press 3 button, how much time it is taking to go to third floor. So simply a lift without anyone can go to third floor, let's say in 5 seconds. Now when there are 10 people, when the lift is full, okay, how much time it is taking to go to third floor is also very, very important, because the lift capacity is 10 members. Now when there are 10 members inside the lift, what's the performance of it? Is the performance degrading? Okay, what's happening exactly is also equally important. Similarly, when it comes to software applications, when we say when we test the performance of a software application, we just not test with one user, we test with multiple users. Okay, like 200 users, 300 users, 500 users, 1000 users. Now when all these users, okay, they perform some action on the software application, then how the application is responding, whether all the pages are loading perfectly or not, okay, whether there is any lag, or whether there is any slowness in the in loading of the web pages. So all these things we have to analyze. So all in all, performance testing is all about checking the performance of an application by applying some load. If you want, I can write the point here. Okay, So checking the performance of an application, software application, by applying some load or expected load. Load means the number of users. See, if only one user is working on the software application, let's say bank application or whatever it is, will there be any issue? No, we don't see any issues if if the user is only one. Why will we see any issues? No, especially performance issues. No, we will see performance issues only when there is some load applied on that. Only when the number of users are more. Okay, so checking the performance of a software application by applying some load, you can call it as a performance testing. This is a very generic definition, okay, normal definition. If you want a textbook kind of definition, that we'll discuss soon, no problem, but not required today. Okay, so if anyone is asking what is performance testing, so it's all about checking the performance of a software application, okay, by applying some load. Load means you can say number of users. Now, number of users, like with how many users we are testing the performance of the application. Okay, so that is a basic definition, guys. Now, as I said, performance testing is very, very important. But what happens if performance testing is not done? So why performance testing? This is also one of the very, very important points. So if you see here, if performance testing is not conducted, then applications might face problems like slowness, pages loading forever, inconsistency, and may further result in business loss. So you might have seen, normally most of you might have faced this issue, okay? Like you could have seen the pages loading forever, like you might have clicked the link or you might have clicked a button, there you see page loading forever, it keeps on loading, the page loads very slow. Okay, so what happens here when your application is having such kind of issues, what can happen? So from business point of view, the owner of the application might face huge loss. Okay, how many of you remember? I don't know. Like there was, I think around 10 years ago or 8 to 10 years ago, that was the very first time the e-commerce websites launched a big sale, seasonal sale or big sale or whatever you call it. So that's the very first time they launched it, and they didn't expect so many users. Okay, at that point of time, and the application crashed. The e-commerce application crashed. Let's say today, tomorrow, 12 p.m. We are announcing we have a big sale, like 50% discount and all those things. Okay, so what happened for the very first time when they implemented the application, the website crashed, because even the organizers, they didn't knew that those many users will actually access the application. So it incurred a huge loss because they didn't conduct performance testing for those many number of users. So, and if you see, from then after till now, okay, there were never there were no such issues, okay, till now. I mean, so many times the e-commerce websites, they announced a big sale and all those things. Till now, the applications never crashed. They were able to, mostly they were able to handle the amount of load that they expected. So performance testing is very, very important, guys. Okay, and it's a common thing nowadays. For example, if you're using some application, okay, in your mobile, let's say you are using some application in your mobile, it is very slow. Frequently, you are observing that it is responding very slow nowadays. So what will you do? Will you continue to use it, or will you try to switch to other application which is providing similar features? Obviously you will try to switch to some other application which is providing similar features. That means that means for from business point of view, they lost a user, they lost a customer. That means it is directly impacting the financial aspect of their business. Yes or no? So that's the reason, without performance testing, no application will go directly to customer. That's the reason performance testing will last ever. I mean, it will be there as long as the software development is there, as long as the end users use the software applications. Performance testing will be intact. No problem for performance testing at all in future also. Okay, so that's the important point. one more important point. One second. So here you see one more good point. The goal of performance testing is to find performance issues rather than finding functional bugs. See, to find the functional issues or functional defects or functional bugs, there is a separate functional testing team which we are not worried about. So our primary focus will be on to identify the performance bottlenecks. So in performance testing terminology, we call the performance issue as performance bottlenecks. Okay, we call it as performance bottlenecks. Okay, so okay, so remember this term bottleneck. So we continue to use the term in our course as well, and of course in your real-time projects also, you keep on using this term bottlenecks. So if you, let's say you ran a performance test, and your client might ask you, did you find any bottleneck today? So the term bottleneck is nothing but a kind of performance issues. If there is any performance degradation and all those things. So performance testing ensures that all the bottlenecks or issues must be fixed before the application is deployed in production. That means before the end user accesses the application, all the performance issues must be fixed. Okay. Otherwise, see nowadays what's happening, the performance is such a important factor. Like let's say you are playing a game like PUBG or any other game. Like nowadays the guys are comparing the speed, like how fast the controls are being used, accessed, how fast the game is responding. Okay, so like the performance might differ from mobile to mobile, but however, if you see, the performance is a primary factor there. Okay, now not only in gaming, it is very important across all the sectors, like including banking, telecom, healthcare, wherever it is. For example, if it is in healthcare, now you have to use an application and uh, raise a medical claim. So if the application is not responding quickly, or you have to upload all your bills, it is not responding quickly, what will you do? I mean, it seriously. I mean, it will have a direct impact, right? So you'll get fed up with the application. You'll try to move to some other, uh, service provider. Same thing for banking application also. Let's say you are using any one of the banking application, online application. So if it is not responding quickly, if it's loading slowly, you observe some performance glitches here and there. Now you try to avoid that, and you try to use the other banks, applications, something like that. Okay, so it is not specific to a specific domain or something like that. It is very important across all the domains in the software field. Okay, so I hope you got a clear picture, like what is performance testing all about. Now in performance testing again, we have uh, various tools in the market, like LoadRunner, JMeter, Gatling, NeoLoad, as I said. But our course is about LoadRunner. And as I told you, LoadRunner and JMeter are the most widely used tools in the market. They occupy major share in the market. Okay, most of the banking and financial organizations, security organizations, defense organizations, all these organizations, they use LoadRunner, primarily LoadRunner. Okay, because they give importance to security, data security, their organization's data security. Okay, so that's the reason they prefer the load runner. Okay, so some other organizations, some other domains, they also use JMeter also. That's the reason I'm saying both the tools are most widely used in the market, and I'm say I'm I suggest you to learn both. Okay, but not at a time. Okay, you can either start with JMeter, or you can either start with LoadRunner, but don't learn both at a time. Okay, I know I have seen many participants who tried to learn both at a time and ended up learning only 25% of both, which is of no use. Learn one tool completely. Okay, hardly takes a month or two max to max. Okay, and then you can switch to some other tool, whatever you want or whatever is recommended for you guys in your organizations. Okay, so coming to, because this course is about load runner, so I'll try to explain the load runner architecture first. Now, how is the load runner architecture? What are the different components of load runner architecture? How it works? For that, let me open a slide quickly. One second. Okay, so the load runner architecture. One second. Okay, so the load runner architecture, we will understand the components or we'll derive the architecture based out of some questions. So let's say there is a banking application. Okay, before I tell you this point, now there was one point which I forgot to inform. Like I kept on telling that performance is very important. The web pages should load very fast. Like when you click a link or when you click a button, you should be able to navigate from one page to another page very quickly. Now, when I say very quickly, what is the standard time? For example, you click a link, okay, uh, like you have to go to next page. Now, what is the standard time? Like how much time it has to take by default? So, according to the industry standard, if you click a link or if you click a button, the user has to navigate from one page to another page in 2 seconds. Okay, within 2 seconds. Okay, that means any new page should load in 2 seconds. However, there can be some exceptions depending on the project. If the project architecture is too complex, the client or the product owner will be okay to accept 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 7 seconds max. Okay, but it is very rare, but they accept it. Okay, uh, now coming back to the architecture. Now we will derive this architecture or understand the components based out of some questions. Now let's say there is a banking application. Now, if I ask you to test this banking application, okay, to do the performance testing for this banking application with 500 users, that means if 500 users access the banking application, how it is responding. So that I want to know. So how, if I ask you to do, how will you do it? Will you bring 500 people and give them 500 laptops or desktops and ask them to log into bank application and perform some actions on the UI? Which is not possible. You cannot bring 500 people, right? Okay, let's say if you bring 500 people in the worst case, then what if I ask you to test with 5,000 people? Will you bring 5,000 people and give them 5,000 laptops and ask them to log into the banking application? No, right? It won't happen like that. So that's the reason we need a component which can simulate the virtual users for us. So the component name here is called load generator. Okay, the load generator is a component which is used to simulate the virtual users. These virtual users mimic the normal human actions behavior. Okay, like clicking a link, clicking a button, something like that. So these load generator, these are also highly configured machines. Like they have a good RAM, CPU, and all those things. Okay, so each load generator machine can simulate some X number of users. What is that X number of users? How many number of users a single load generator machine can generate? It depends on multiple things, which we'll discuss later. Okay, but at a very high level, this component load generator is purely responsible for simulating or generating virtual users. So these virtual users will make sure that the load is applied on the system. Okay, so the task of load generator machine is to simulate virtual users. Got it? Now, when you have a load generator, okay, which can simulate virtual users, then what else you need to have? You need to have some sort of scripts, okay, which you can run, okay, I mean, these users can run. These virtual users should run some sort of scripts. What sort of scripts? For example, in a banking application, let's say you have to test the banking application. In banking application, what are the critical business scenarios? Let's generic. So let's say the most important one is transfer money. So without transfer money, no banking application will be there. For example, I mean, you have to transfer money from one account to another account. That's the most important thing, most basic and important thing, right? So that you have to count it for performance testing. Let's say you have to download bank statement. This is also important. Like any user, they can they they might want to download bank statement. Let's say third one, you can say paying credit card bill. Like that, you have multiple critical scenarios in any application. So performance testing primary goal is to uh, verify or check the performance of all these critical business scenarios. Okay. Now, when you want to verify the performance of these critical scenarios, that means you need to perform these actions on the UI by huge number of users. So the virtual users, let's say 500 or 1000 or 2000, whatever it is, depending on the application requirement, those users should perform these sort of actions on the UI. Okay, then only you can analyze or determine the performance. Now, let's say for transfer money, what are the common steps that we see for transfer money? Okay, for transfer money, what are the common steps? Let's say the user will launch the application first, then user will log into the application first, then the user will navigate to their account, then the user will select beneficiary, right? Then the user will enter amount and click, let's say click transfer, then the user will log out. These are the common steps, common actions that a user perform for transfer money scenario. So these steps needs to be executed by these virtual users. Okay, so the load generator, which is simulating the virtual users, those virtual users should perform some action or the other on the UI, right? On the application, right? So these sort of actions they will perform. So how do they perform directly? Okay, so for that we need to develop scripts or generate scripts or record scripts. So for these sort of actions, we need to develop or record or generate scripts. Okay, so which component is primarily responsible for recording or generating or developing the scripts is Vusion. Vusion is the primary major component or important component for developing or recording the scripts, guys. Okay, now you have a component which can simulate virtual users, and you have a component for generating or recording the scripts. Okay, now you should have a component which should allow the scripts to be uploaded and then trigger the execution. Okay, so I repeat again, the component should allow to upload the scripts and then trigger the execution or just triggering the execution. Okay, it will just trigger the execution. So that component is called controller or performance center. So whatever the scripts you develop here, those scripts you need to upload here and then trigger the execution. So once the execution, okay, so once you trigger the execution here, what will happen? Once you trigger the execution here, what will happen? The controller or performance center will transfer all the scripts to load generator. Okay, they transfer all the scripts to load generator and the actual execution happens here. Now, when I say controller is responsible for triggering the execution, it will just trigger. The actual execution won't happen here. The actual execution happens here in the load generator component, because this is a component which will simulate the users. The component which is simulating the users is responsible for executing those scripts. From where it is getting the scripts? From controller. Controller is transferring those scripts to load generator. Okay, so there is something called agent process. In short, I'm writing AP, agent process, which will take care of, or which acts as a common bridge between load generator and controller to transfer all the files. Okay, now when the execution is done, you should have some component to analyze the results, which is again very, very important, because end of the day, even if you execute, if you're unable to communicate properly to client on what happened during the test, then whatever you do before, whatever the things you do before will go for a toss. Whatever the execution you done, whatever the scripts you recorded, whatever the scripts you executed, for those, okay, for the in the load test, you need to analyze. Analysis is very, very important, because based on our analysis only, the client will decide whether the performance impact will be there or not on their business. Okay, so it's very, very important. So the analysis component is very good, at least in LoadRunner. It provides various graphs, and those graphs will give us detailed metrics, okay, of what went right and what went wrong during the test. So in short, these are the different components of LoadRunner. If someone is asking you in interview where, in which component the exact execution happens, you should say load generator. Some of the participants or people say, uh, recently I've seen, I've taken a couple of interviews and I've seen people answering that the execution happens in controller or performance center. No, in this component it will only trigger. Okay, and when it triggers, all the files will be transferred to load generator and the execution happens there. Okay, I will, in our upcoming sessions, I'll prove it practically also. I'll tell you, like, how, why, where the execution is happening. Okay, I'll show it practically also. Okay, so this is about the load runner architecture, guys. So in our upcoming sessions also, as and when required, we'll keep on discussing about the different components and the relation between them. Now, once you install LoadRunner in your local, let's say you install a trial version, you will get Vuegen controller and analysis by default installed in your machine, and your personal laptop can act as a load generator. So that means whatever you want to practice or learn, okay, you can do it. You can do it always, in your local machine only. No need of any other machines. Okay, so this is about load generator. Sorry, load runner architecture. So what is performance testing and load runner architecture is done. So what's the time now? Okay, it's 40 minutes. Okay, so as of now, whatever the questions you have, please make a note of it, or you can put it in the chat window. Okay, yes, I will share the slides. Yes. So someone is asking, do we have access for the slides? Yes, you do. We do share these slides. Okay. So whatever the remaining questions you have, you just make a note of it. We'll discuss in detail in few minutes from now. So now record and replay a simple flow. Okay. Now, uh, generally, let's say the flow is login functionality. Okay. I'll take any sample application, like this. You see this. This is a sample application actually. Its name is WebTours, which is provided by Micro Focus only. Micro Focus is the owner of, or vendor owner of the LoadRunner tool. So this sample tool is again provided by Micro Focus only. Okay, we can practice as much as we can. Okay, only for today, I mean, for today's demo session, I'll just make use of this tool. So what we will record today is, we will launch this application with this URL. Then we will log into the application by submitting these details. And then once we log in successfully, we will log out immediately. So these three steps we are going to record, and we'll see how the script is generated. Okay. Now, can anyone unmute and tell me which component I have to use for recording or generating the script?
Fusion.
Yeah, it's Fusion.
Yes. So you have to use Vuegen. So if you want to launch a Vuegen, okay. So if you want to launch Vuegen, one second, guys. Let me close. One second. Just a moment. Okay, so if you want to launch Vusion, okay, once you install, actually I mean, you can just in the search, you can type just Vusion. You will see this icon, you can open it. And if you want to upload scripts and trigger execution, you can just search for controller. You'll see controller there once you install. If you want to analyze the results, you just hit analysis. You'll see analysis there. Okay. So for today, we are just recording 3 steps, right? So let me launch Vusion. So when I launch Vusion, it will be something like this. Okay. So once we launch, so you'll get to see this sort of screen, and you just have to create a new screen. Okay. Sorry, new script. So without any delay, let me click on File, a new script and solution. Okay, new script and solution. So there are different protocols, guys. We will discuss what is protocol all about. But for today, just understand that for every web application, okay, we use this web protocol, web HTTP HTML protocol. Okay, and here you have to choose the location, which location you want to save all the scripts. So for this batch, I'll just create another folder. One second. So I'll create another folder here. Let's say I'll write as uh, 8 a.m. Okay, I created one folder, and the script name, let's say I'll give it as demo. So script name I have given as demo. Script path I have given as this, and I'm going to click on create button. I've just chosen web protocol because we are working on web application. Okay, we'll discuss all of these in detail in our upcoming sessions. So just for now, these are enough. Okay, let me click on create button. So
Do we
once I
need to
click on
do,
create,
sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. Do we need to do any settings before we select the web HTTP protocol?
no, no, not required.
Okay.
I mean, not required. I mean, see, basically, if you see the other tools, I mean, if you have any idea about JMeter and all, in those tools you need to install Java, create set up the environment variables, path, and all those things, all those default things you have to do. But because it's a free, it's an open source tool. Now this tool, LoadRunner, it's a kind of complete package. Everything comes in a single package. I mean, once you install it, that's it, done. You need not do any settings before you start creating a script. I mean, while recording, you can create. You have to update some settings. Okay. When you record the flow, you have to update some settings according to your application, how it's getting recorded. But that doesn't mean that you have to that doesn't mean that there are any prerequisites or anything that we have to do just to create a normal blank script. So this is an empty script. I mean, nothing is there. This is a normal new script. We didn't do anything. We just created a new script. That's it. Okay. Now for recording the flow, for recording the steps, whatever I'm telling, launch, login, log off. I mean, you can just go to recording options and make some default recordings options settings there. But we have a separate session for recording options. So I'll explain you there what are the default options and what are the other recording options we have. What should we do if we are what should we do if we are unable to record the script? Okay. What should we do if we are unable to record the script? What is the worst option we have? And all those things we'll discuss. So this is a default script, guys. Uh, so now, if you see here, this is the place where the code gets generated. This is where you can see all the output logs, the console logs. Okay, this is a solution explorer where you see the entire solution, files and the different options. Okay, so we will discuss in detail about the solution explorer later. Okay, but for now, just understand that we are recording everything in this action. Okay, that means whatever the steps that I'm going to record will be saved in this particular action. Okay. Now, how do you record? I want to record 3 simple steps. How do you record? There is a record icon over here. If you want, you can click on it. Or there is a record tab over here. You can click that record tab also, which will give you an option to record. See this one. Or you can hit a shortcut control key called Control R, Control plus R. Okay. But as I said, 99.9999% of the performance testers, we use this icon only to click because it's easy. Just click on it. Now what you have to do is, here you get this pop-up window. Ignore this for now. As I told, everything will be recorded in action for now. Here you have to choose the browser, like using which browser you want to record. Basically, you can record using Chrome, Firefox, Edge, like that. And IE is not supported, but you can record in Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. Okay, I mean you can record in any browser. There is no restriction. Even in your real-time projects, there won't be any restriction. You can record in any browser. Whatever the browser you are able to record, you can use it. Then after choosing the browser, so here you have the browser, Firefox, Edge, Chrome. After choosing the browser, you have to give the URL here. Which URL? Your application URL. What is the software application that you are testing? That project, that application URL you have to give here. For today, I have given this sample application URL. Okay. Now you see, we might have already have so many URLs which we have already recorded, but for today we are going to record the sample application here, right? Now don't do anything else. We'll discuss all the other options later. Just click on start recording. Okay, I've just selected the browser and the URL. Okay, then start recording. So it is giving me a pop-up saying that, hey, you have already opened Mozilla Firefox, which is already open. So if you click OK now, okay, the existing Mozilla Firefox will be closed and it will start a new Mozilla Firefox and then it will start recording. Are you okay with that? Yes. I'll just click on OK. So what will happen? It will close Mozilla Firefox. Again, it will launch Firefox with the given URL. Whatever the URL I have given, with that URL, it will launch again. See, it is launching the Firefox browser and it will launch that URL also. If we wait for just for 5-10 seconds, it will launch that URL. See, it is launching the URL. See, now what happened here? When I clicked on start recording, the Firefox browser launched with the given URL. Okay. Now here you see there is a movable window which comes here. This window, uh, similar window is there in JMeter also when you click on start recording, but this is more powerful window than the window that you have in JMeter. Okay, it has so many options here. Okay, I mean very soon you will learn because you are just beginners, right? You might not be aware of JMeter also. So when in few months, in maybe in couple of months or 2-3 months, when you know LoadRunner and JMeter, you will understand the major differences. Okay, so this movable window will come up automatically when you click on start recording, and you might see there is some number which keeps on increasing here. So if this number keeps on increasing, actually it's a very good sign for us. That means the tool, the ViewGen tool, is able to successfully capture the traffic or able to successfully record the application. So what do you mean by successfully capture the traffic or successfully record the application? See, there is a browser over here. Okay, let 1 second. Uh, Let me draw a little bit small. Browser. Okay, this is a browser. This is the application. Now, okay, this is the application server. I mean the servers. Okay, obviously when you click a link, the request will go to the application in the backend, and then only the application will send the response to the browser, and you will see the home page. For example, here I launch it, then it will go to server and get the launch page, and it will show the launch page to me. In between, we are having LoadRunner now. In between, we are having LoadRunner. So whatever the request is going, the LoadRunner is capturing it, and obviously it is going to application. And then again, whatever the application, the response is coming back, the LoadRunner is again capturing it in between. That means LoadRunner is learning everything. Whatever the traffic or requests that are going from browser to application server, the LoadRunner is capturing or understanding or learning everything, and it is saving all the data. Okay, so we'll discuss in detail again in our upcoming session, in our next session for sure. Okay, but just know when I say number keeps on increasing, That means the load runner is learning everything. Okay, that means when I launch the application, what happened? Okay, the load runner is learning, or whatever the action I perform on the UI now, the load runner tool will learn like that. Okay, now there are different options here, like cancel, stop recording, cancel recording, sorry, pause recording, cancel recording, into which action you want to record. Okay, this is a new action. Okay, this is these three different things where there are different concepts actually. Uh, we can learn them as a separate concepts in our upcoming sessions. For now, let's understand these two. Okay, so what are these two? These two are very, very important that you have to use for every recording. Okay, in your projects you have to use for every recording. What exactly they are? They are they are the options to start and stop the steps. I mean, starting just to mention the starting of the step and ending of the step. For example, I have launched the application now. Already the application is launched. What is the next action I have to perform, guys? What is the next action I have to perform
Username
on
and
the UI?
username and password. Enter the username and password.
That means you have to perform login action,
Yes.
right? So here you just have to start that login transaction. Okay, it says insert start transaction, click it, and then type login, because that's what you are going to do next. And then click OK. So then you see immediately the end transaction automatically gets enabled, but don't click it directly. So before you click on this insert end transaction login, first you have to go and perform the action on the UI manually. So I entered username, password, and I clicked on login button. Now wait for 5 seconds until the page loads completely, and then go ahead and end that login transaction, because login is done. So I'm going to end it. So I'm going to click on insert start transaction, login end. That's it. Now what is the next action? Log out. So again, I'm going to start a new transaction, log out. Okay, click OK. Then I'm going to click on sign off button on the left hand side. Okay, now the application is signed off. Then I'm going to again wait for 4-5 seconds until the page loads completely. And then I'm going to end that particular transaction, log out. That's it. So like that, for every action that I perform on the UI, I have to start a transaction and I have to end a transaction. Why? Because these start and end transactions are the ones which will calculate the response time for us. How much time it is taking for that particular action? Who is calculating? With tool is calculating with the help of the start and end transactions only. Okay. So now what is the next step? Okay, my all steps are done. So I'll stop recording. So there's a first icon which says stop recording. I'll click on it. Stop recording. Now it is generating the the view user script for us. The load runner script for us. Okay. So once you record your application, you will land on this recording report. Okay. We will discuss about this in our upcoming session. Okay. Now I'll directly go to action. Okay. See here. This is the action where the code got generated. See how many lines of code? Approximately some 60 lines of code. But understand one thing. Okay. Line number 33, if you see, in LR underscore start transaction login. Okay. Line number 52, if you see, LR end transaction login. Basically, LR start transaction is a function. LR end transaction is a function. How these lines got generated? If you remember just few minutes ago, I inserted a start transaction login. So when I inserted a start transaction login, this piece of code gets generated. Okay. Then I manually entered username and password and I clicked on submit button. So this piece of code generated for that. You see here the username and password that I entered is Jojo and Bean. Okay, then I clicked on insert end transaction for login. I stopped it. So that's the reason this piece of code got generated. So this is LR start transaction login and this is LR end transaction of login. Whatever the code is there in between, that belongs to login functionality. Okay, similarly, you see LR line number 56, LR start transaction logout, LR end transaction logout at line number 68. So whatever the code that is present inside this belongs to logout. You see sign off button. I just clicked on sign off button, right? So this request got generated. This piece of code got generated. Similarly, okay, now this is again login. Okay, if I scroll up, can anyone tell what is this piece of code is all about? Can anyone tell what is this piece of code all about?
For launching that application.
Exactly. So before login, what was the action what was the action that we planned? Launch only, right? After launch, login, then log out. So, but if you observe carefully, there is no start transaction and no end transaction for launch here. You can ignore this for time being. But if you see this, for this particular launch request, you don't have a start transaction and end transaction. The reason why we don't have a start transaction and end transaction for launch is even before the movable window populated, the application was already launched. If you remember. Now, if I let's say if I click on start recording again, now what happened when I clicked on start recording here? This browser launched it with this URL. I mean, even before I clicked on insert start transaction and all those things, the application is already launched. Yes or no? That's the reason you don't see a start transaction and transaction for launch. However, you can add it manually if you want to. I mean, not if you want to, mandatorily if you have to add it. Like that, like this, you have to write line before this request. You can start writing LR underscore start underscore transaction, everything in small letters, in double quotes. You just give the name of the transaction. Let's say for time being, I'm giving launch. Now, where should I write LR underscore end transaction? Can anyone tell? Where should I write LR underscore end transaction?
On the above of LR think time.
So, so after line number 31, I can write.
Yeah.
So I can write LR underscore end underscore transaction. Which transaction you are ending? Launch. So whatever the name you are giving here in the start, the same name should go here as well in line in ending also. I mean, including case sensitive. Even if you miss a single letter, it will throw errors. I'll show you like what are the errors it will in our upcoming session. Then, by as per the syntax, you just have to write LR underscore auto. I'll tell you what is that in later, but this is as per the syntax. Okay, so now you see we have login transaction. That means login step. We have sorry launch transaction launch step. Then we have login transaction. Okay, then you have logout transaction. Okay, logout step. Now, if I replay this, okay, no need to change anything, guys. I mean, I'm going to just replay it. So if I replay this, it will tell us how much time it has taken for launch, how much time it has taken for login, how much time it has taken for logout, like that. So here, okay, so here I will replay. So there is an icon over here to replay the script. Okay, there is an icon here for replaying the script. Here, this icon, or you can hit F5 also. Okay, let me click on this icon. So it will replay the script and it will tell me, it will give me the result, replay summary result. So now you see the script is passed, and here you can see launch has passed. Launch has taken 0.419 seconds. Login has taken 0.279 seconds. Logout has taken 0.233 seconds. Now all these response times, this is called response times. So all these things, whatever you are seeing here, this is for one user only. Did I enter anywhere to run for 500,000, 2,000 users? No, right? These times, whatever you are saying, these are for one user. Now, the same script, this script, whatever you have developed, you have to upload it into controller, and in controller, you have to define with how many users you want to run. So, whatever you develop here in Vusion, here you will be able to run only with one user. Okay, that's again one of the important question and interview question also. Okay, so hope you got some idea about how the things are coming up and what how that script is getting generated in Vusion and all those things. So
So,
record and replay simple flow.
yeah, sorry, a quick question. After recording a sample script with web HTTP, we are getting all the mm, undesired steps. When I replay it, I'm getting the error. So why is that so? When I saw your script, you don't have to do anything. You directly did the replay and it was working fine. But I was getting all the unnecessary steps and the script was failing at the logon
Yeah.
step. Why is
Yes.
that so?
So yeah. So it has to do with the recording options. So you have to update the recording options in such a way that it won't record unnecessary requests first of all, and I mean we have some options to set. I mean some filters within the tool, not outside of tool. Nothing is outside of tool. Within the
Okay.
tool only, in the
Can,
recording options,
can,
you have to make some settings for which we have a separate session. So you have a recording options here. So you can you can update some of the settings there, which will not record unnecessary requests.
can you please show that?
There are so many settings. It will take one complete session. Okay,
Uh,
recording
I
options
think,
itself is one
one
complete session.
question. Sorry to interrupt. Can we remove this unnecessary commands in our action file?
Where are unnecessary comments here?
This web reads before login transaction. Yeah, this web save parametrics.
So let me comment it.
Okay,
Okay, removing and commenting both are same, right? Yeah, tell me.
okay.
So what should I do
Now
now?
you can replaying it.
Nothing will happen. It will pass. It won't fail. There are different concepts here. That's what I'm telling. We are too early to discuss all those things.
Okay, okay.
Okay. But if you have any questions which needs to be addressed on priority, I can assist you after the call in some time later today. But uh, whoever has asked recording options, like it is recording unnecessary requests and all those things, you have to, sorry, today's demo session, right? So you have to wait for another 3-4 sessions because I mean, we need some time to get the software and trial version installed in all the machines, and then everyone should install, and then only we can discuss these recording options because even they have to practice, right? So that's the reason I cannot explain all the recording options in tomorrow's session or day after tomorrow's session. Mostly after 3 or 4 sessions we can discuss that. Okay, so basically there is something called performance testing lifecycle. There are different phases in the performance testing lifecycle, right from non-functional requirements gathering to providing recommendations. So the first couple of things, 2 or 3 things like non-functional requirements gathering, workload modeling, and all those things. These are document based, very, very, very important for interview purpose. Okay, so non-functional requirements gathering. I do have a slide for it. I'll just explain, but because we are running out of time, I may not able to share it. So, I mean, if you are assigned to some project, right, you cannot start the work directly. You have to know what exactly you have to test. What is that application? With which technology it was built, and so many things you have to know. So that's the reason you have to start your work with non-functional requirements gathering. You have to gather the requirements, like what you have to test exactly. Okay. So there is a separate session for that. So tomorrow, basically in the next session, mostly tomorrow, we will discuss about the different types of performance testing. I mean, we today I've just gave a definition of performance testing, but tomorrow we'll discuss in detail about different types of performance testing, and then we discuss about the server. So just now, a few minutes ago, I told you, there is a browser, there is application server. No, you have to understand like what is a server. Now, without server, there is no performance testing. So it's in day out, we keep on using the term server, server, server. Now within that, you have application server, database server, web server, and all those things. You have to understand those terminologies, what exactly they are. Okay, what could be your project architecture? Okay, what is a protocol? Okay, and when you understand all this, you have to understand workload modeling. Okay, once we complete all these things in 3-4 days, then we will plan for installation. And after installation, the very first session will be recording options only. Okay, so in the meantime, if anyone is having any issues with respect to recording unnecessary things and all, you can ping me after after a couple of hours or something like that. I can assist you.
How can we ping?
I will ping in the WhatsApp group so that you can save my number and you can reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is also done. Now let me quickly go through the LoadRunner course content. So here you go. So this course is all about the LoadRunner basic to advanced course, okay, including advanced scripting. So we begin with architecture basics, introduction to performance testing process and life cycle. So I told you, right? So initially we have to discuss this proof of concept, non-functional requirements, test plan, workload modeling. These are all document based, very, very important for interview. After that, you see the installation, record and replay, features of Vugen tool, okay? And then best scripting practices. Okay, best scripting practices, recording options, transaction naming conventions, understanding the script and excluding unnecessary requests. Okay, learning important inbuilt functions, debugging, recording versus replay. Then you have runtime settings, like how you have recording options which supports the recording of the script. Similarly, you have runtime settings which will support the replaying of the script. So these are the runtime settings you have. Okay. Then you have in recording options, you have something called HTML based versus URL based recording. Okay, then you have checkpoints. It's a kind of assertions. Okay, if you know the term called assertions or checkpoints, both are same. Then you have introduction to C language. So this is the most common question that everyone ask me in in our every batch. That's sir, how much of coding is required? Is coding really required for load runner? Okay, or performance testing? See, basically, I won't say no, but I can say that 90% of the times you might not need much of coding. Okay, so only 5 to 10% of the times you might need coding, but you can achieve or customize your script, whatever you recorded. You can customize it with basics of coding. So uh, basically, loadrunner it supports two types of languages like C and JavaScript, but we prefer C because it's there. The tool is there since ages, and the support of C language for loadrunner is also there since so many years. And if you go to any social media platforms or any online platforms, you have a solution for all the issues, okay, that we commonly come across in LoadRunner, and supporting the C language. So JavaScript was recently introduced, okay, but now also more than 95%, or in fact 98, 99% of the, or in fact 95, more than 95% of the projects, they use C language as support language. Okay, unless and until the protocol is forcing you to use JavaScript, otherwise not required. Okay, so again in C language, no need to worry. I mean, you if you remember your college days, you might, if you have seen some C language, if you think that it is very tough, no, we need not go to till that extent. Even if we need not learn pointers also. Okay, no need to go till that point, that thing. We have to learn only these concepts: variables, data types, if statements, loops and conditions, select case functions. Very, very, very simple and easy. Hardly it will take 3-4 hours, okay, to learn these concepts. And whatever the very basics that we learn here are the very important ones that we use in our script customization. Okay, like loops, if statements, and all these things. Okay, then you have some inbuilt load runner functions that we will learn. Okay, and one advanced concept is like, how do you read data and write data from a file, and some real-time challenges in scripting I'll explain. okay, which is for interview purpose. And then very important concept called correlation, which we discussed for 3 to 4 sessions. I mean, it is that important that if you don't learn this concept, you'll not be able to develop the scripts. Okay, it is that important. It is not a specific concept for LoadRunner. This concept is common across performance testing tools. The same concept is there in JMeter, and it is equally important there also. Okay. Then you have parameterization. This concept is all about passing the test data. So because you are running with huge number of users, obviously you might need huge amount of data. So how do you handle the test data? Through parameterization. Okay. So till here it was all about scripting. Now then you upload the scripts into controller, you create scenarios, you execute, you create different types of performance testing scenarios, scheduling options, executing a load test, runtime settings, SLAs, and all these things. Then these are all about analysis. What are the different metrics that we analyze? Okay, how each of the metrics is giving us information about if there is any performance issue. Okay, analyzing results and providing observations, and then drafting email with all the observations to client. Basically, you won't find this anywhere. So when you run a load test, let's say you run a load test, now you have to provide your observations. Obviously, you have to provide your observations. Then providing observations, in detail through email is important. So how do you draft that email? Okay, that we have a separate session for that. Interview question and answer, scripting practice on other multiple applications, because the more you practice, the more easy for you in terms of scripting. Then we'll also discuss virtual table server, which is a kind of small alternative for parameterization. Okay, so this is a course content, guys. And along with all these concepts, you also have some of the bonus topics. Okay, these are outside of LoadRunner, guys. These are outside of LoadRunner. So I mean, outside of LoadRunner in sense, uh, basically, uh, outside of LoadRunner course content. So there is something like Fiddler har file scripting. So in the worst case, if you are unable to record the script, how do you use Fiddler and har file for recording the script, for generating the script? Then you have APM tools. Again, this is outside of LoadRunner. Like APM stands for application monitoring tools. So this is very important for analysis. Like we will be able to clearly find out like which code, code or which method is running slow, or which SQL query is running slow. Like that, we will be able to find out using APM tool. So that we will give the method name or the query to developer saying that, hey, this method or this query is running slow. Can you check at your end and fix it? Okay, so you can analyze till that level also. Then I will give you some brief introduction about CI/CD Jenkins, like why Jenkins, how performance testing is related to Jenkins. Okay, in the current trend, I'll explain that, and I'll also show you like how to trigger a local scenario from Jenkins. Okay, local LoadRunner scenario from Jenkins. There will be one more session on true client protocol. This is a different protocol actually. So whatever the web protocol we have chosen, right, and while recording few minutes ago, that is one protocol. This is another protocol for which we have a separate session. Then we have a separate session about thread dumps and heap dumps also. Like in sense, like I'll give a brief introduction about like what is thread dump, what is heap dump, what are the different tools you have for downloading, what are the different tools you have for analyzing. Okay, I'll show you a sample analysis, like how do you analyze a sample thread dump and heap dump. Then I'll also explain you about the load balancer algorithms discussion. So it will hardly take like half an hour, which is important for interview. Okay, very important for interview also. Then also I try to this AppDynamics and this connecting to DB through LoadRunner. I might give you the recorded session, okay, or I might give you the live session. Okay, anything is possible depending on the system settings at that point of time, because we are giving the live session on Dynatrace, and we are trying to give a live session on AppDynamics and Dynatrace both. But because both are APM tools and both are competitors, so right. So when I install AppDynamics and Dynatrace in the same machine, we are having some conflicts. So either of it will be a live session for sure, either Dynatrace or AppDynamics. If any one of, if due to some conflicts, tool conflicts, if we are unable to give a live session at that point of time, I will give a recorded session for either AppD or Dynatrace. Okay, but any one of the tools, will be a live session for sure. Okay, same thing here also. Mostly it will be a live session. In worst case, it can be I'll give a recorded session for this. Not sorry, not this. This one, connecting to DB through LoadRunner. So for this, actually, we use another protocol called Java User Protocol. Okay, we have a separate session. So basically, there might be a requirement where you have to connect to database also. That means you have to test the performance of database queries and all those things. So in that case, this session will help you a lot. Okay, and above all of these, you will also get the recording sessions of web services. Okay, so like not all the applications will be UI, right? So you will also get, you might also get to do the performance of APIs like the web services, REST services, microservices and all. So these recorded sessions will be provided to you along with this course. So for the web services. So that's about the course content. Any questions? No, you can ask all the questions now one by one. Let me go to chat window if I see any questions there first. Any questions? Okay, as of now, no questions. Okay, let me know if you have any questions now. Okay, the basic information about course is like the sessions will be from Monday to Friday. Okay, Saturday, Sunday, you won't have any session. You can practice, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Okay, and there will be approximately like 40 to 45 sessions, like 42 to 45. I mean, every batch, 1 and 2 sessions here and there. I cannot guarantee like exactly 43, exactly 44, not like that. It can be like 42 to 45 somewhere. Because see, sometimes what will happen in the previous batch, let's say, we have couple of sessions for interview questions. Okay, now in that batch, the participants they kept on asking so many interview questions. Okay, I don't know from where they got. Okay, so they have their own set of questions which they ask. Okay, so we had to discuss for another couple of sessions. So like that, we can extend the sessions if required. Okay, so depending on the participation only. Okay, so any other questions? And one more thing is, especially the guys who are coming from non-IT, uh, okay, depending on the number of participants coming from non-IT, if required, I will take one additional session on one weekend for them for 1 hour, just to make them familiar with these performance testing terms and terminologies. Okay, so if anyone is coming from non-IT and if you have any further questions after this demo session, directly ping me on WhatsApp. I'll call you back. Okay, any questions? Any other questions? No questions? Okay, so if you have any further questions after this demo, please do reach out to me in the WhatsApp. Okay, so I'll be there. I'll just ping right after this class, so you can reach out to me, or you can post your questions in the group, or you can directly reach out to me. Anything is fine. If there is any questions related to course fee and all, you can reach out to Kumar sir. Kumar sir is already there on the, I think he's already there on the WhatsApp group. Okay, so one second, let me share his number. I think you have his number, right? Uh, so let me share in the chat window. You can reach out to him directly. Okay, so 1995247. Okay, so I have shared his number. You can reach out to him. So I'm stopping the recording here.